Preds will resume league play after the Winter Olympics in Milan, Italy. 4 Nashville Predator players will be representing their countries at the world stage. Preds captain Roman Josi for Switzerland, Philip Forsberg for Sweden, and Erik Haula and Jussi Saros for Finland. In the NFL, last night, the end of the season awards were announced as Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford won the NFL's MVP, and Coach of the Year was Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel. This is Vrabel's second Coach of the Year award, as he won it first time with the Tennessee Titans in 2021. Earlier this morning, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz will not return to Cleveland to command the defense, as he submitted a resignation letter to the team. This all takes place after Browns' Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year, and Carson Schweisinger won NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year last night at the NFL awards ceremony. This evening at 6:45, college basketball's St. John's and UConn match up in a Big East battle. You can listen right here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
For more, log on to theGameNashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the George Plaster Show on Friday, February 6th. About a little over 48 hours until Super Bowl Sunday, when the game is played 5:30 on NBC. It's an exciting time. It is an exciting time not only because of the great sports weekend that we are about to embark upon, but also I'm looking outside my apartment window and it is sunny. I got in my car today and I was driving around, and the little, thermometer or whatever you call it, read 61 degrees. And I don't know how real that is. I don't know if my car was just lying or not, but I'm very excited because it has been a cold, treacherous winter so far with everything that we've, as a city, we've been through with the ice storm, but things appear to be trending up. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll have to see how it goes. I will say, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I was having a little bit of congestion earlier, and my voice was starting to give out. I have been staying up to date on my hot tea. I've been drinking a lot of hot tea and honey. Hopefully, the voice will stay strong and we'll be able to get through the entirety of the show today without any issues, which that is the plan. We're going to push through. Got a lot to unpack, a lot to discuss. We have our buddy Mark Griffin coming on at 3:20. He'll be on. It'll take us to the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to talk all things college basketball because with the final game of the NFL season being played on Sunday, that'll officially close football season before we get into, spring ball and that sort of thing. But college basketball is in the thick of conference play right now. In about 5 weekends from now, we'll have brackets for March Madness. I'm told that college softball is starting. College baseball opening day is next week. The Olympics, the Winter Olympics are going on. They've already had some events. Shout out to the U.S. curling team, who is 4-0 on the week, and they just had their opening ceremony at 1 o'clock. I was able to catch a little bit of it. So a lot to discuss. Certainly not going to have enough time to get into all of that today, but we'll try the best that we can. And let me remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I put it in if you're watching by way of live stream, I was able to put it in the comments. I'll do that again here in just a second. But please make sure that if you haven't already, please subscribe to the George Plaster Show YouTube channel, because if you're not able to catch shows live, it's okay, because they're all right there. You can go back and listen to previous shows that happened in the week. You can go back and find shows that we had in January, wherever. So please make sure that you're subscribed to the George Plaster Show YouTube channel. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the update. America's favorite update, our sports update. Let's go ahead and start with what happened last night with the NFL honors. Kelly and I talked about it pretty much the entire show. And of course, as we talked about, it happened. Matthew Stafford won his first most valuable player award last night. Again, the first time in his career. It was the closest MVP race since 2003 when Peyton Manning and Steve McNair were co-winners. So it was certainly, there was a lot of anticipation building, and we all knew that it was down to two guys. And when you're looking at the first place votes, the results, it was between two guys. It was between Matthew Stafford. It was between Drake May. Matthew Stafford edged out Drake May with 24 first place votes. Drake May had 23. Josh Allen received 2, the quarterback of the Bills. And believe it or not, Justin Herbert, who wasn't even a finalist for the award, received 1 vote from, I can't even remember the guy's name, but one of the voters, I think he's a PFF guy. But he later on Twitter put out his reasoning for why he voted Justin Herbert. And let's just be honest, that doesn't make any sense. It should have been between Matthew Stafford and Drake May. And really, that's who it came down to. So congratulations to Matthew Stafford. He is the 3rd oldest player to win the most valuable player award since Tom Brady in 2017, who won it when he was 40 years old. And Aaron Rodgers back in 21, I believe he was 38, 39. I can't remember the exact age. But here's the exciting part. If you watch Matthew Stafford give his speech last night, he had a little something at the end in which he indicated, and he flat out said, that he would be back in 2026. So no, Matthew Stafford is not going to retire. He's coming back next season. And for myself, a former quarterback, I know Kelly's excited about this. Matthew Stafford, if you're able to win an MVP at age 37 and you had your team right on the cusp of another Super Bowl appearance, I think you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the team to come back, because the Rams could be back in the same position next year. They have the secret sauce when it comes to finding guys in the draft, because a lot of the guys that they have on their roster, a lot of their younger core players are not former first-round picks outside of guys like, Jared Verse, and Matthew Stafford was a first-round pick, but they acquired him via trade from Detroit. So they have found the secret sauce when it comes to drafting, developing, and being able to retain their guys. And a lot of guys on their defense are on those rookie contracts, so it's financially very feasible. So the Super Bowl window is still very much open for the LA Rams, which should be exciting if you're a Rams fan happening to listen to the show right now. Mike Vrabel, or Verbal, as the lady referred to him last night, is the coach of the year. Kelly and I also called that one. The second time in his career after taking a team that was 4-13 the last 2 years and getting them all the way to the Super Bowl. They were tied for having the best record in the league, tied for having the best record in the AFC, and were very close to getting the 1 seed in the AFC. They were the 2. The Denver Broncos had the 1, but they beat them in Denver, something that Tom Brady was not able to do to get to a Super Bowl. So the future is very bright in New England. Drake May will certainly be back in the MVP race, I'm sure. Myles Garrett was the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. I think we all saw that coming, a guy that broke the single-season sack record with 23, previously held by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt. When you do something like that, it's pretty clear that you're going to be the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. And JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, won the Offensive Player of the Year after leading the league in receiving yards for the Seattle Seahawks. So those were kind of the headliners from the NFL honors last night. And something else exciting, they announced the 2026 Hall of Fame class. That includes Drew Brees, former Saints quarterback, who is first-time eligible. And, of course, he's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer because he's second in all-time passing yards in the NFL. Larry Fitzgerald, another first-time guy, is also going to be a part of the 2026 Hall of Fame class. That speaks for itself. Spent his entire career with the Arizona Cardinals. Luke Kuechly is in his second year of being eligible for the Hall of Fame. He has made it, a former linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. I believe he also spent some time with the Seattle Seahawks. Adam Vinatieri, one of the best kickers of all time, if not the best. Spent his career with the Patriots and the Colts. And then running back, Roger Craig, one of those guys like Christian McCaffrey was able to do this year, who had 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing in a single season. He is now going to be part of the Hall of Fame. And I saw today that ESPN put out the first-time eligible former players for next year's Hall of Fame class. That will include Adrian Peterson, Ben Roethlisberger, and Rob Gronkowski, all three of which have a strong case to be first ballot Hall of Famers. In other coaching news, Jim Schwartz, who was the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, if you remember going back a few years, was also in an advisory type role on the defensive side of the ball for the Tennessee Titans. He has resigned as the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator. He was getting interviewed to potentially be the replacement for Kevin Stefanski. And as we all know, he did not get the head coaching job. It was given to former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Jim Schwartz did not take kindly to that and can't really blame him. So he has resigned. Here's the interesting part about it all. He has 1 year left on his contract. And since he has resigned, the team could block any overtures from another team that is looking for a new defensive coordinator. Let's say they were to hire Schwartz or wanted to hire Schwartz. The Cleveland Browns could block that from happening if it happened to play out that way. So we'll have to see what happens, but that is the latest with Jim Schwartz, the former defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. I want to make sure I get this quote right, but Jets defensive tackle Harrison Phillips had some strong words for what all Aaron Glenn had to deal with in his first season as the head coach of the New York Jets. And I'm going to get it pulled up here in just a second. But basically, to quote him, he said that Aaron Glenn inherited a, quote, very cancerous group. And I know that we come on this show and it's really fun to kind of bang on the Titans and, you know, they kind of deserve it. But the Jets, if we're just being honest, have probably had it much worse than the Titans. They're going on, 16 years not making the playoffs. And it wasn't too long ago that the Tennessee Titans had the 1 seed in the AFC. So it could always be worse, but it doesn't seem that things are going very well in New York. Hasn't been going well for quite a while now. Hall of Fame quarterback Sonny Jurgensen has died at the age of 91, set a lot of passing records with the Philadelphia Eagles and then Washington Redskins. The Nashville Predators, they fell last night to the Washington Capitals 4-2. And I was talking with Max Hers earlier of Preds Radio, and he was talking about how this was a really tough stretch for the team where you get done with the Wednesday night game that went to overtime against the Minnesota Wild. You then turn around the next day. You have a road game in Washington against the Capitals. And they did a good job for the most part competing in that game, but that's a really tough stretch. That's their third game of the week. They're still 4 points out of the final wild card spot in the Western Conference. The good news is that they get 3 weeks off for the Olympic break, which started today. And a lot of those Preds players that will be, competing in the Olympics are en route to Milan, Italy. So very quick turnaround for those guys. I don't think the men's ice hockey starts until next week. I could be wrong, but I was trying to look at some of the scheduling earlier today. I did see that the women's ice hockey is taking place right now, but the men's, I believe, starts next week. I mentioned the Olympics, the opening ceremony happened today at 1. I know with the Summer Olympics, because I was at the last Summer Olympics in Paris, they have the opening ceremony and then they start all their events. With the winter, I didn't know this, but they have a lot of their events that happen before the ceremony. Then they have the opening ceremony. Then they continue with their events. So kind of a weird dynamic there. Let's get into some of the college basketball action that we have this weekend. Again, we'll have Mark Griffin on at 3:20 to talk more about this. But tonight, we have a really good rivalry against UConn, who's number 3 in the country, and number 22, St. John's. They tip off at 7 p.m. on Fox. UConn has been dominant. They have one loss on the season. St. John's coming in with a 17-5 record. That game being played in Madison Square Garden. That is going to be a lot of fun. That is going to be a lot of fun. And then tomorrow, not a lot of eye-popping matchups to start the day, but as we get later into the afternoon, that's when things really start to heat up. It starts with, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. Vanderbilt's welcoming Oklahoma to Memorial Gymnasium for a 2:30 tip-off. That'll be on SEC Network. This one may not be, as appealing as I find it to be, but Arizona and Oklahoma State, that's a 3 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. Oklahoma State's coming off of a massive win against BYU, kind of one of those bubble teams in the latest bracketology. They travel to Arizona tomorrow and are looking to hand Arizona their first loss of the season. Arizona, one of 2 remaining unbeatens in college basketball, the other being Miami, Ohio. Duke and North Carolina, probably the greatest rivalry in college basketball. It's personally my favorite. That is a 5:30 tip-off on ESPN from Chapel Hill. And Duke currently a 5.5-point favorite in that one. We'll have to see if I bet that later today. Hint, hint. Illinois and Michigan State. We talked about the latest with Tom Izzo and Jeremy Fears. We'll have to see if Jeremy Fears ends up starting or not tomorrow. That is going to be a storyline to watch. Illinois won, I think, 11 in a row, including back-to-back weekends in which they beat a top 5 Nebraska team at home, and then they beat, at the time, a top 5 Purdue in Mackey Arena. And now they're traveling to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. And personally, Michigan State is a 1.5-point favorite. I don't understand that. I don't know if the bettors have actually watched Illinois play this year, but I'm not leaning Michigan State in that one. That's all I'll say for right now. Florida and Texas A&M, that is a 7:30 tip-off on the SEC Network. Texas A&M is still tied. They're tied with Florida for the best record, in conference record, I should say, in the SEC. So the winner of this one will be number 1 in the SEC. How could I forget? I didn't forget about it. I was just kind of putting it down the list. Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky, we all know they came back from down 18, beat Tennessee in Knoxville earlier last month, and now it's flipped. It's in Lexington, in Rupp Arena. Kentucky, a 1.5-point favorite. Tennessee on a 4-game win streak. Which Kentucky are we going to get? We're going to talk about that with Griff as well. And then Houston and BYU. This is a late game, 9:30 tip on ESPN. BYU has lost 4 out of their last 5, and they get a tough draw by welcoming Houston into Provo. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that one. And then, of course, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl on Sunday. The line has not moved one bit. It's been the same since the line came out. Seattle, a 4.5-point favorite. I'm taking Seattle. I'm just going to say it right now. All right. We're going to go ahead and hit the first break. When we come back, we're going to chat with our buddy Mark Griffin about all things college basketball. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com. Rugby Showdown, live at Geodis Park on Sunday, April 19th, kicking off at 3 p.m. Hard hits, nonstop action. Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits the biggest stage in Nashville. Don't wait. Tickets will go fast. You can get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. We'll go ahead and welcome in our friend Mark Griffin for our weekly CBB Hoops Report. Mark, I know that you told me last time we talked that you were going to go to the Tennessee-Auburn game. Did you actually end up making it out there?
Yes, I did, Park. How about yourself? Did you make
it? I did. There was a slight – we thought about maybe staying back because, it's a pretty far drive from Nashville, but – we ended up powering through and we made it. The interstates weren't bad.
No, and I was shocked, Parker, like I'm sure yourself, how many people were at that game with the adverse conditions that were going on in Knoxville, surrounding area, mid-state, etc. I think it holds 23, 24, and there was I don't know exactly, but there was at least 19-5 at that game.
Yeah, no, there was you know how this fan base is. I mean, anytime that they see Tennessee Volunteers in that uniform, wherever they could be playing in a parking lot and thousands of people are going to show up. So I was happy that we got to make it out there at least. It was a good win for the Vols. Let's start there with Nate Ament. He's scored 19 or more points in 4 straight games. I was watching the game versus Ole Miss on Tuesday. You see him get an and one. You see him start to stick that chest out a little bit. And I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that out of Nate Ament yet. But that's got to have you feeling good, right, Mark?
Yeah, and even better, it seems like he's feeling good. Seems to really be enjoying the game more. You're seeing a little emotion. I'm not one of those guys that believe you have to be a rah-rah guy, but when you don't show any emotion and then you show it one time a game, it means a lot. So for him to show that emotion to me, and anyone that's ever worn the uniform knows, you're just being able to express yourself, let out some frustrations even, and just that sense of joy of accomplishment. And he should be enjoying his time. I think that knowing Coach Barnes like I do, I'm sure he's had the talk with Nate like you do a lot of one-and-done players to just enjoy the experience. But because before you know it, Parker, it's over. And, we seem like this season lasts forever, but, March Madness is right around the corner. And of course, there's a lot of expectations for Nate Ament, and deservingly so. I mean, he's, was as high as a fourth rated player coming out of high school. And who are these pundits that rate these guys? I mean, who knows? But, enough people have seen him to know that he was going to be a difference maker and a program maker wherever he decided to go to school. And it's really paying off for Tennessee right now. I think his efforts are really extending to his teammates, and you're just seeing another level of enthusiastic play.
5 weekends from now, we'll have our brackets for March Madness, which is just insane to think about. But Nate Ament seems to be coming on, or Ament. I keep saying Ament. It's Ament. He keeps coming on at the right time. And I'm really starting to see these guys, especially in the front court, because Felix Okpara's missed the last 2 games. But you have Jalen Carey coming in off the bench. You have Dwayne Brown starting. And I thought both of them played very well, and particularly against Auburn. What do you make of the depth that the Vols have in the front court?
Well, it's something Coach Barnes and I talked about before the season. He had told me, I'd gone to several preseason practices. He said, we're going to be deep inside, and he's not had that type of lineup since he's been in Tennessee. I think this is his 11th year. To have that depth just goes a long way. When you lose Okpara and the presence he has as far as what you're going to get with Felix is shot blocking capability. He's going to alter a shot if he doesn't block it. He'll get some dunks. You're not going to see a lot of great jump shots from him. He's not going to shoot from more than 3 feet out, but he's steady. Now that you take him out of the equation, you've got Estrella that's really picked it up lately, which I'm very glad to see, because I was hard on Estrella earlier in the season because I just didn't think he was utilizing his talent like he could. He's a guy that didn't, to me, Parker, seem like he wanted to get on the floor. And to earn Barnes's trust, you've got to get on the floor. But he's really picked it up defensively and especially offensively. Dwayne Brown's been their biggest surprise. When he came on campus this fall, they had really projected him to be someone that would bang in practice, be a good practice player, but had the longest way to go to get on the court. And he's just really adapted to Coach Barnes' philosophy, playing hard, sound defensively, and has made a difference. And then Jalen Carey, the bruiser, I mean, such force inside, a lot of mismatch issues for him. I love, and I'm sure you do too, and your listeners, how he uses his body so effectively. He'll jump into players, especially guys that are bigger than him, because it's not like he has a great vertical, but he uses his body so well to create that contact. And also what a lot of young men don't do now is use the backboard. Very effective, putting that basketball off the backboard to bounce it in, get to the free throw line. Now, could he improve on his free throw shooting? Yes, but so can Brown as well. But you just, you can't do everything great. You have to just continue to work on that. But they're all making a difference. And I don't know if Okpara is playing tomorrow night, it'd be nice to have extra bodies, that if they're needed for Kentucky's inside presence. But it's really exciting to see, because we've not seen this in a Barnes coached team since he's been here, this much depth.
What really excites me about Carey is he's 270, I believe, but the way that he's able to use his body to just carve out space in the paint, it's beautiful to watch. So we have the Vols that are on this 4-game win streak. You alluded to, they're playing on the road at Kentucky. Here we are again, matchup number 2 of the regular season. And I really like the way that the Vols are playing right now. Kentucky's hot and cold, but their last couple matchups or last couple games have been pretty good for them. It's just the fact that it's at Rupp. That's what scares me the most. But do you see Tennessee being able to get it done tomorrow?
I think they're in a position to, and that's all you can ask. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about, as far as winning in your backyard, the importance of protecting your home floor. And then, Tennessee didn't get it done against Kentucky. I mean, they've turned it around since then. Like you said, 4-0 run. Kentucky won 7 out of their last 8. The last loss was at Vanderbilt, where they got demolished 55-80. Back in the day, it's really difficult to win on the road at a place like Rupp. Tennessee's had success. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Maybe you do. But they've had success. Barnes has had success winning at Rupp. I keep going back to John Fulkerson. He owned Rupp. They couldn't wait for him to graduate in his 6 or 7 years that he was at UT.
Yeah.
So they've had a good history. They'll reflect on that to say, hey, we've won here. When I played way back when, never won in Rupp, never had a chance to set one season. It's very difficult. It can be a great equalizer and much needed moving forward for Tennessee. And I credit Mark Pope, too, for what they've done since they bounced back from that Vanderbilt game. And I did some research, Parker. The 7 games they've lost, 6 of them were to top 25 opponents. So it's not like they played a bunch of patsies. I mean, if they were losing, but they were losing to good squads. And what does that tell you? What you can learn moving forward after a loss, knowing that there were mistakes against a top opponent, I think you learn more than beating let's say a directional school by 20 and saying, hey, we won by 20, but we're playing a directional school. You just get more out of it. And they've really matured. And I commend Coach Pope.
So we're going to stick in the SEC, and I was watching Texas A&M and Alabama the other night. Buckyball, Alabama plays a similar style, lots of threes. They don't shoot a whole lot of mid-range jumpers. Everything is either in the paint or it's 3 or they get to the free throw line. So you have Texas A&M that's hosting Florida tomorrow. Florida absolutely bullied Alabama in the paint on Sunday. And now they get to play Texas A&M. Do you see Texas A&M being able to compete specifically in the interior with Florida?
No, I don't think they compete on the interior side with Florida. Florida's got some of the best big men in the country. Florida's been getting exceptional play from Boogie Flan, who was missing before they played Tennessee. He was shooting like 19%, I think, from the 3-point percentage and lit up UT. If Florida can get once again an off guard, we're talking UT. If they can get that second guard, either Lee or they have a couple guys that come off the bench, and they don't have a deep bench as far as perimeters. If Flan or Lee gets in foul trouble, they're in trouble. You haven't really seen that a lot, but if Florida can get some consistent play with their off guard, sky's the limit for Florida. And I think that Florida beats Texas A&M. I'm not even sure where it's being played. I'm big on Florida. It's a Texas A&M. Well, good.
Yeah.
I love what I see in Texas A&M with buckyball and going back to that matchup against Alabama. I stayed up late night to watch that because, he coached in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Coached at Samford. And, I mean, just several years ago, he was coaching high school, and now he's up against Nate Oates and a lot of these guys that are such a great program in the University of Alabama. And now he's matching wits with Nate Oates and put together a lineup of mostly guys that didn't play last season and did a great job. And AG's really good inside, but they're limited inside. I think Florida takes advantage of that. But the difference is because the pressure that A&M puts full court, that's going to slow Florida down. And if you can slow their guards down and get them in foul trouble or even turnovers, then it's like the great, once again, equalizer to keep them in the game like A&M's done so well this season. So I think it's going to be a great game. I just see Florida winning. Love their inside play. They've got the history. It looks like now they have their confidence back, and they're trending in the right direction.
I watched Florida on Sunday, and I'm thinking to myself, man, here we go again, because I don't know how you feel about it, but when I'm watching their front court, I think it's a little bit better than it was last year. The way that Ruben Chinyelu is able to switch off of whether it's, these big forwards or the guards and still just maintain that position without fouling. It's incredibly impressive, but it's the lack of depth that they have in the guards specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Florida, even without the guards, do you think that they're a national championship contender?
I do. I really do. Of course, a lot of this is speculation. It's, not having injuries. It's a guards game in the tournament, though. Even though they have such great inside play, it's going to come down to guard play. And you think of Florida last year, you got to think of the Clayton Jr. kid and how he played exceptionally well, willed them to victory. Can Boogie Flan continue in that this season? I think will be the difference. Now, he's got a lot of accolades. I mean, he's a McDonald's, All-American, transfer from Arkansas, really, picking up his momentum and tempo for Florida. But I do question Florida as far as overall guards. If you've got a glue guy, perimeter player, and you can just challenge Boogie Flan wherever he goes, even bring a guy off the bench. And I'm not saying rough him up, but I am saying rough him up. And just put pressure, maybe get him to make one or two offensive fouls or a push. That changes everything for Florida. And I think you're going to see that. If I'm playing against Florida, I'm taking someone who made like Evans for UT. I'm sticking Evans on Flan. He's not breathing. I'm not even giving weak side help. I'm like, you're staying with Flan, offside. If the ball's on the other side, you're still staying with them, and we're going to make Lee or one of their bench guys beat us, because you can't stop everything, Parker. You can't, but you can neutralize those to try to create, even keel there. And I think it starts with Flan.
I saw Seth Greenberg say this might have been last week on College Game Day, that Alabama with Charles Bediako is a national championship contender. And I saw that and I'm like, no. I mean, they're 2-2 since getting Bediako back. I mean, what's the ceiling on this Alabama team? I don't think it's national. I don't think it's anywhere near national championship.
Well, there's an argument for both sides. I think they're the most talented team top to bottom in the conference as far as athletes. They got two great guards when you're talking Holloway and help me here, Parker.
LeBaron Philon.
Yeah, Philon. Fantastic guards, but they shoot so many three-pointers. It's pretty much living and dying by the three, and they're dying more than they're living recently. So that's a concern. But they have such great athletes. I know the players love that style, getting up and down the court. I think the other night they shot over 40 three-pointers. I know at one point they were averaging 36 attempts a game, which was number one in the country. Can you win a championship like that, shooting threes? It's going to be tough, because once again, you're going to have guys that are going to come out and they're going to play them half court. They're going to pick them up at half court, and they're going to force them within the perimeter, within the three-point line, and they're going to overplay on the wings, force guys to go into the two-point space and beat them or beat their opponent with two-point shots the best they can. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Alabama, but they definitely have the talent. I'm surprised they're not playing better than they have been, even with Bediako or not. I mean, everybody has their opinion on him. I just look at guys that are, when the whistle goes off, ball goes in the air, I'm just concerned about the guys that are playing. So we can get in this topic for an hour, but I think he's 23. I'm more concerned about the guys that are 26 that are playing. You got the former kid from Auburn that's playing at USC. He's 26 years old. I mean, you got 18-year-old kids out there playing against guys 26. To me, that's crazy.
That's the thing that makes me nervous about Alabama, and even with Texas A&M, because buckyball, although it's not the same, it's it's pretty similar. And to even hit closer to home with Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols, the hockey line subs, 5 in, 5 out, and the constant up tempo, is that style of play sustainable?
Hockey 5 in and 5 out is not sustainable. I will debate that forever. I as a player, as a fan, I mean, when you I wish Kim Caldwell all the success in the world. Had a chance to hear her speak not long ago in Knoxville. Very impressed with her. Glad she's at UT. But when you're playing and there's 2 possessions and you just started the game and you come out, why? I mean, you're tired? Are you not doing what you didn't turn the ball over? You didn't even shoot the ball. If you're not involved in an offense at all, and it was 2 possessions, and let's say you got a rebound or you didn't, why are you getting pulled out? It just makes no sense to me. I'm not a fan of it. 5 in, 5 out. Now 4 in, if there's particular issues, clock management, if you've got foul trouble, fine. But players just can't get into the groove. Now, on the flip side, people say, well, it takes time to get into the flow of the game. No, it doesn't. Takes balls in bounds, you're into the flow. There's none of this, got to get into the flow. You have to be into the flow the first play that you're into the game if you're a substitute, period. One of the advantages you have, Parker, coming off the bench, is you get to watch who you're going to get to go in and guard for the most part. You get a feel for the flow, the pace of the game, mismatches. So you should be even more focused when you're coming in. But I'm just not a fan of pulling 4 or 5 guys out when it's like 2 minutes going by. The players don't like it. They're not going to talk about it, but they don't like it.
Because I love Kim Caldwell, and at first I was really on board. I'm like, 5 in, 5 out, let's go.
No,
and now I'm starting to – I watched them versus UConn the other day. I'm like, I'm starting to have second thoughts about it. But anyways, this has been a really good conversation. We're going to continue that on the other side, get outside of the SEC a little bit. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a race and sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
Tell them Plaz sent you.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. We're continuing our conversation with our good friend Mark Griffin about all things college basketball. Mark, let's go ahead and start with your nothing but net team. That is Miami of Ohio. They are 23-0, and they have a very challenging matchup versus Marshall tomorrow. Will they extend their streak to 24-0?
You know, that's a great point. Will they? It's their toughest matchup the rest of the season. Of course, like many of us, I didn't know a lot about Miami of Ohio going into this season. I didn't know much. I didn't know Travis Steele, the coach here, went to Miami of Ohio, but he's doing a fantastic job. And what I like about Travis Steele, let me just talk a little bit about him first. Started out as a high school coach, worked his way up to a GA. He was a D2 assistant. And then he worked his way up over to Xavier, was the head coach, got let go, fit in well with Miami. He's got this team on a roll. But as far as matchups, the experts say that this game against Marshall is going to be their toughest one that they have the remaining part of their schedule. It's their only Q2 game remaining in the season. And when you look at net, you're categorized into it, which is NCAA evaluation tool. It's how they rank these teams. You're either 1 to 4. Well, they've played they haven't had a Q1 game, which is against top 35 teams. They've had 2 Q2 teams. They won over Wright State and Akron. But of the Q2 and Q3 games, they've had 7 games, Parker. 5 of them were single-digit wins. So that tells me they know how to win when it's a close game. What is Miami of Ohio? What do they bring? They're the number 1 scoring team in the country, almost 93 points a game. But on top of that, they're the number 1 field goal shooting team, 53%. And I always look at free throws, like how good are you at the line? Because, getting into tournament time, there are going to be a lot of people shooting free throws. They're 35th in the country. So once again, very good. Puts them in a position to maybe have an upset. On the flip side, for this net ranking, I've listened over the week that said if they were not to win their conference tournament, would they get that at-large bid? And there's been some debate. They could fall out. And that would I think that'd be really sad. I think this is a team that a lot of people, including myself, want to see win that first weekend, as long as it's not against Tennessee, and see them do well. See the smaller teams or I'd say lower Division I teams do well.
So we had Lee Fowler on yesterday, and he told us that, Belmont is on a fast track to make the NCAA tournament as well. They're 21-3, I believe, number 1 in the Missouri Valley. And he was saying that there's talk that even if Belmont doesn't win the Missouri Valley, they still may get in the tournament. So that's an interesting point you brought up about Miami, Ohio. Joe Lunardi has them as an 11 seed in his latest bracketology. So they'd be in the same bracket with, Clemson. That'd be their first round matchup. Gonzaga would be in there. Do you think, and it's such an inexact science trying to predict the Cinderellas, but do you think Miami has what it takes to make a run? Because to be honest, I don't know much about them.
Well, I think there'll be a team that many of us will be cheering for. I don't know how far they can advance based on who they played. Of course, anyone who follows the MAC conference that they're in, or Miami is going to say, hey, we play who's on the schedule. We beat the crap out of them. Why can't it be us? So it just makes you, you pull for, once again, that the lower level team to do well. I don't know how they'll fare. I will be interested to see, and I'm hopeful that they do make it if they don't win the tournament championship. Let's say Akron does, who's right behind them at number 2. Will they put 2 teams from the MAC in? I hope they do. I'm really hopeful that they do make it, and then we just see on that first weekend, that Thursday or Friday, if they can advance. I just think it'd be awesome. They got 6 guys scoring double figures, Parker. So, they're spreading the love. The leading scorer, I think, is averaging like 15 points a game. But when you got 6 guys that are scoring double figures, then what that tells me is you've got ball movement and you've got movement in your offense to where you're putting several guys in a position to score, which gives you a higher percentage to win because you're not relying on 1, maybe 2 guys to do all the scoring for you.
Yeah, though, and a team we were actually, ironically enough, talking about yesterday, we're talking about New Mexico State, or not New Mexico. No, it's just New Mexico. They have 3 freshmen that are scoring double digits, which is crazy. It just kind of speaks to the level of talent in this year's freshman class. Another freshman I wanted to talk about was AJ DeBansta at BYU. BYU's been struggling. I watched their game versus Kansas, and they're a really good second half team. It's just the slower starts in the first that kind of trip them up a little bit. They lost to Oklahoma State on Wednesday in Stillwater.
Yeah.
And then they get to host Houston tomorrow night. Yeah. So it's looking like they may lose 5 out of their last 6, or I think 5 out of their last 6 would be correct. How concerning is that if you're a BYU fan?
Very concerning. I think they paid $5 or $6 million for DeBansta. I saw him play in travel ball. He was for an Adidas team. And when he was a rising senior in high school, when I saw him, and I was with a buddy of mine, and we both agreed he could have gone the NBA out of high school. I mean, before his senior year, he was that good. And to watch him, and I watched the Oklahoma State game, he's amazing. Amazing player. I don't know how he's not number 1. Richie Saunders, another good player that BYU has. Transfer from Baylor, Robert Wright. So you've got 3 really good pieces there for BYU. What concerns me about BYU is inside play, really just getting in and I hate to call it being gritty, but really being aggressive on the inside as far as blocking out. They got talent, but it just hasn't gelled. And like you said, here lately, they've had a string of losses. And in their conference, man, every night's a battle. And they're just sliding down the scale on what I call the Lenardi line. I mean, were they a 3 seed moving to a 4? And which is good for Tennessee because I'm watching a team like this. People say like, well, Tennessee should be a 3 seed. Well, you can't jump to the 3 line without people losing ahead of you. And that's just how it is for any team you follow. For you to advance, if you're following Vanderbilt, you're like, hey, we want to be a 3 seed. Well, guess what? Somebody on the 3 seed's got to lose. They're not just going to move you up because you win and Kansas wins. Someone's got to lose, and BYU's opened that door right now.
This will be my last one because I'm absolutely fascinated by this team. I've been watching them. I've been paying close attention. But Illinois, they beat Nebraska in Lincoln on last Sunday. And then the weekend before that, they beat Purdue in Mackey. And this Keaton Wagler kid is phenomenal. And they're in East Lansing tomorrow to face off against Michigan State. First of all, there's a little bit of theatrics going on between Tom Izzo and Jeremy Fears, so that's going to factor into this. But Michigan State's a 1.5 point favorite, and I'm thinking to myself, have the guys making these lines, have they not watched Illinois this last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I would question that as well. And man, you got to give Underwood the head coach, a lot of credit. He brought in transfer from Arkansas, the big kid that his brother was already at Illinois, Stojakovic, whose father was the NBA legend for years, Peja, transfer from Cal. The freshman that you referred to that just is probably the most improved freshman in the country from when especially from the first 5 games till now. And now the talks of him are, could he be a lottery pick? Just played tremendously. They play very aggressive. I would lean towards Illinois as well. I know they had beaten Tennessee earlier in the season, and they just seem like a much improved team from when they won earlier too.
I lied. I have one more. What's the game that you're looking forward to most this weekend?
Well, give me a couple highlights. I haven't even looked yet to see who's playing.
Duke, UNC, obviously Tennessee, Kentucky. So we got some rivalries. Illinois, Michigan State, Houston, BYU, St. John's, and UConn tonight.
Well, I'm gonna. Most people would probably say Duke, UNC. I'm not. I don't know where it's being played, but I think Duke will manhandle them. I'm looking forward to Houston and BYU. I'm a big Houston fan. Man, they're so talented. And speaking of freshmen, Kingston Flemings is an incredible guard.
My gosh, he's unbelievable.
They're one of the 2 teams I feel, and I'm not famous for this or anything. It's just my opinion. I think they're a team that can cut down the nets because they have so much elite talent at each position. They have 4 guys that are projected to go in the first 2 rounds next year, and their 5th guy is their veteran player, Sharp, who's had the most experience with Houston. Well coached, play great defense. Could have an off night like anyone, but I'm really big on Houston, and I want to see how they play DeBancho, who they're going to put on him defensively. Will they go matchup zone at all? What's going to be their MO against DeBastia? I mean, they've got to worry about other players, but it starts with him, and I just want to see what Houston does to try to slow him down.
Griff, great stuff as always. Enjoy the hoops this weekend, and we'll do this again same time next week. Look forward to it.
Sure. Thanks, Park.
That was our buddy Mark Griffin talking all things college basketball. Phenomenal conversation as always. We'll recap that a little bit on the other side of the 4 o'clock hour and also get into some NFL headlines, and we'll open the phones at 4:20. How about that? Want to hear from you. Do you agree with the things that Griff was saying about really, Miami, Tennessee, Kentucky? Do you agree with the fact that Matthew Stafford won MVP over Drake May? Lots of stuff to get into. We want to hear from you. We'll get into all that on the other side. This is the George Plaster Show.
Get ready for the big game with Electronic Express, your local source for big screen TVs for over 40 years. Shop now for amazing deals like a 55-inch LG Smart TV for just $279, a 65-inch Hisense Smart TV for only $249, or a 75-inch Samsung Smart TV for just $429. Shopping local has perks too, like free delivery, available installation, and up to 24 months interest-free financing. Shop in-store or at electronicexpress.com.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey, it's Willie Donick for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. If your home needs an upgrade, start with Pella Windows and Doors. It's wintertime, and Energy Star says you can cut utility bills by about 12% with energy-efficient windows, and Pella delivers that. Their proper sealing and insulation help keep moisture out, preventing rot and costly damage. And installing Pella windows pays off. The 2025 Cost versus Value Report shows homeowners recouped up to 75% at resale. Upgrade smart. Choose Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Nashville, For the first time ever, TNA Wrestling comes to the pinnacle with back-to-back nights of total non-stop action.
Are you kidding?
On February 13th, the action kicks off with No Surrender.
I'm here to be the best.
Plus, on February 14th, the action continues with Impact.
The entire world is watching.
It's a can't-miss weekend of total non-stop action. Live at the Pinnacle. Tickets on sale now at TNAWrestling.com.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. Our temperatures soar in toward the afternoon. Sunshine goes to cloud cover, but high temperatures climbing into the low to mid 50s. Overnight tonight, though, a chance for a few flurries and lows in the 20s.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. In case you missed Chase and Big Joe.
Once the filler dissipates, your manhood goes back to its original size, leaving extra fabric between the thighs that is now loose and can offer wind resistance like a parachute.
That's about the suit they wear. I read the article this morning and it said the more suit surface you have, the farther you're supposed to be able to go.
Well, you're a suit.
Yeah, but I think it's a different kind of suit.
Like, let me ask you this question. I've always wondered, like, the first person that milked a cow, like, what was he doing?
That's a great question.
Right?
Like, how do we discover how to do certain things?
Right? How did you discover this works? Some guy gets, they drunk at a bar and says, let me tell you what's going to work. And you won't do it, but if you did, it explains how you can get 5.84 meters on your jump.
Chase and Big Joe, weekdays at noon. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry is hitting Nashville. Major League Rugby is taking over the Music City for one epic weekend as the Chicago Hounds take on the reigning champions, the New England Free Jacks. It's the Music City Rugby Showdown, live at Geodis Park on Sunday, April 19th, kicking off at 3 p.m. Hard hits, nonstop action. Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits the biggest stage in Nashville. Don't wait. Tickets will go fast. You can get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Now, time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. I may be solo, and I may not have George or Kelly next to me, but I promise I did not look at the answer. Heck, I don't even know what the question is. So it is just me. I will face this question bravely. So let's get to it, shall we? The Patriots are looking to win their first Super Bowl since 2019. Who won Super Bowl MVP that year for the Pats? Well, if I remember correctly, this was the Super Bowl against the Falcons, the famous 28-3 game. One person in particular had that great catch, and that was Julian Edelman. So I'm gonna go Julian Edelman. Let's see. It was Julian Edelman. All right. I gotta say, the last 3 shows that I've done by myself, and I've done the stat of the day, I've gotten all 3. So maybe when I'm doing these, maybe I don't need Kelly or George next to me. Maybe I'm better off on my own. I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, with that, we welcome you back into the 4 o'clock hour, the final hour of the week. We've previewed Super Bowl 60 all week, Kelly and I. We've covered every nook and cranny of the game. We've said where the Seahawks, we both picked the Seahawks to win. It's 4.5 point spread, which has not moved again since the line has dropped. We've explained why we think Seattle's going to win. We explained the possibilities in which the Patriots could win because, yes, majority of the people are picking Seattle to win this football game, but there's a very real world in which the Patriots are able to pull this off because they deserve to be here. Now, I know a lot of people, try to dunk on the light schedule that the Patriots have had. And yes, compared to what the Seattle Seahawks have had to face, yes, it has been pretty easy. But the truth of the matter is, when you're in the NFL, you're going against professionals all day. So it doesn't matter if it's the Tennessee Titans. Heck, it doesn't matter if it's, the Raiders versus the Buffalo Bills. At the end of the day, everybody's a professional. The Patriots just went out. They played the teams that were in front of them. They beat the teams that were in front of them. And it's not like they've beat a bunch of nobodies. They did have to play the Bills twice. They split. They beat the Chargers, which have a really good defense. They beat the Texans, which have an even better defense. Oh, yeah, and then they went to go play the Broncos in Denver and beat one of the league's top 2, top 3 defenses. So the string of defenses that they had to face along the way, not exactly easy. And if you think about what Drake May's been asked to do in those games, I'll actually pull up his regular season stats since we have them on hand here. You look at what Drake May's been able to do this season. 4,394 pass yards through the air, 4th in the league. His yards per game, 4th in the league. The 31 touchdowns through the air plus the 8 on the ground and 8 interceptions. He was phenomenal in the regular season and could have very well won the MVP award last night. We haven't seen necessarily that same Drake May in the postseason. It's not exactly a bad thing because they've been winning football games, and that's kind of the Mike Vrabel style of winning. Do whatever it takes to win the football game. And in Denver 2 Sundays ago, when it started out sunny and about 25 degrees to blizzarding in the middle of the third quarter and throughout the rest of the game, they kind of had to do whatever they had to do to win. And that is Mike Vrabel to a T. But Drake May's legs have been very impressive and vitally important throughout this postseason run for the Patriots, because while they might not be getting it done necessarily through the air to the level that they were in the regular season, Drake May's legs and the type of athlete that he is has helped push the Patriots over the top and get them to where they are today. So Kelly made this point. I'm going to make this point as well, that if the Patriots want to win this football game on Sunday, Drake May has to be good again with his legs. And I could very well see that. Now, the Seahawks have a very good run defense, also have a very good pass defense. Heck, the defense overall is top 5 in defensive efficiency. Then you flip over to the offensive side of the ball, and they've been about just as good on the offensive side of the ball as well. They have Sam Darnold, who has had good years in back-to-back seasons. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is the offensive player of the year. So when Zach Charbonnet went down, who's their running back, when he went down, this is kind of where my mind went, because I know Seattle really likes to utilize play action. That's what Sam Darnold thrives off of. When he went down, you have to have a good run game in order for the play action to be successful. So when you take away a key piece in the run game, well, how does that affect the play action? And in turn, how will that affect Sam Darnold, the one utilizing the play action, the one throwing the football? Well, it didn't seem to bother them versus the LA Rams, because they went into a shootout with the league MVP and ended up coming out on top. And one of the brightest lights, one of the biggest stages in the whole sport. You're playing in Seattle, Championship Sunday, probably the loudest venue in the entire league, with a chance to go to the Super Bowl on the line, and Sam Darnold comes in clutch. And the most impressive part about Sam Darnold's game against the LA Rams was the fact that he didn't turn the football over. He didn't turn the football over one time. And in the previous 2 matchups versus the LA Rams, I actually have this graphic pulled up as well. Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions in his first matchup versus the LA Rams. He threw 2 interceptions in his second matchup versus the LA Rams, and then he didn't turn the football over once in the NFC Championship game. So we see Sam Darnold continue to build on his performances and just continue to scale and scale and scale as the season progresses. So now here we are. He's had 2 weeks off. We know the oblique injury that he, it was lingering. It was there the week of the divisional round versus the 49ers. He still played that game. And to be honest, the Seahawks didn't really need him to play because once they returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, it was game, set, match at that point because the 49ers had 2 field goals, and that was the only points that they put up on the board. So he kind of got a pass there. Then he gets to the LA game in the championship game, and I thought it was probably his best performance of the year. So now that he's had 2 weeks off to kind of rest whatever nagging injuries have been going on, we get to see, does Sam Darnold do it again? Does he come in clutch like he did against the LA Rams? I personally think he will because I predicted them to win the football game. So looking at Seattle's regular season stat or their postseason stats in particular, 36 points per game. They're allowing 16.5 to the opposition. Pass yards per game, 213.5. Rush yards, 125 on the button, and 0 turnovers. They have yet to turn the football over in the postseason. Now, I know they've had one less game than the New England Patriots, but you consider the caliber of team that Seattle's gone up against. San Francisco, who their defense led by now current Titans coach Robert Saleh, he was holding that thing together with paper clips and bubble gum because they had so many injuries, so many nagging injuries throughout the year, and yet he was still able to get them to play at a high level. And this is why I said yesterday when we were talking about, well, who could win NFL Coach of the Year? And we had the 5 candidates pulled up on the screen here. Kyle Shanahan was one of them. He was the finalist for Coach of the Year, and I could have made the case for him to win Coach of the Year. Because you lose Fred Warner, you lose Nick Bosa, you had Brock Purdy miss a significant amount of time this season, you had George Kittle, who's your star tight end, miss a significant amount of time this year, and yet they had a chance at the end of the regular season to clinch the 1 seed in the entire NFC. And they made it to the divisional round of the playoffs. You beat the defending champs in their building to get a rematch with the Seattle Seahawks. So when I say that I could have made a case for any of those guys to win Coach of the Year, I mean it. And that's my case for Kyle Shanahan, given what they had to deal with injury-wise. But going back to my original point about Seattle, not turning the football over, 2 good defenses you faced in the 49ers and the LA Rams, and Sam Darnold has proven the doubters wrong. Because I know George was big on this, but before the playoffs started, and we were talking about Seattle, we were talking about Sam Darnold. What Sam Darnold are you going to get? Or are you going to get the Sam Darnold that pooped the bed last year versus the Detroit Lions to potentially get the 1 seed in the NFC? Are you going to get the same Sam Darnold that looked scared versus the LA Rams in the first round of the playoffs last year when he was still with the Vikings? And we haven't seen that Sam Darnold. We've seen a really clutch, dare I say, borderline elite level play from Sam Darnold. All the talking heads on ESPN, what they've been talking about this week is what would a Super Bowl win on Sunday mean for a guy like Sam Darnold? Would that put him in elite level status? I don't know if I would go as far to say that, because I made the point to Kelly yesterday that, Jalen Hurts, let's take him for example. He won the Super Bowl last year, and 2 of his better performances in his career have come in the Super Bowl. One of those resulted in a loss, the first time against the Kansas City Chiefs. The second time around, they ended up dog walking the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So Jalen Hurts has a Super Bowl ring. But would you consider him elite? I'll take your silence as a no. After all, I am the only one in the room right now. But with Sam Darnold, if he were to win the Super Bowl, I consider Sam Darnold a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. No question right now. But if he were to win a Super Bowl, I don't know if I could bring myself to the point where I would say that he is elite. I think with the Super Bowl win, you got to have the conversation about Sam Darnold being a top 6, I'd say, quarterback in the NFL. But does that put him in the elite status with the Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar? I could see the case where, yeah, it does, because Lamar's never been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen's never been to a Super Bowl. In fact, they've had trouble getting over the hump. Sam Darnold was able to get over the hump. In fact, he's been able to revitalize his career. So it goes either way here. You could talk me into him being elite, or I could still say, well, I need to see more. And that's typically been the conversation around Sam Darnold. But nonetheless, it's been a really great story. And I know we had the conversation earlier this week. Well, who's been a bigger story so far, or who will be a bigger story on Sunday in the Super Bowl? Is it going to be Sam Darnold, this guy that you're seeing on the screen if you're watching by way of live stream? Or is it going to be this guy and Mike Vrabel, who I know fans here are probably sick of us talking about, but truly it has been impressive what he's been able to do in New England versus what he was able to do in Tennessee. Because the thing that he didn't have in Tennessee, and this is one of the reasons why, not the reason, but one of the reasons why I believe it led to his exit in Tennessee, was the fact that he didn't get the roster control that he was asking for. And when Miss Amy made the hire of Brian Callahan, it was swinging the pendulum in a completely different direction than what you had with Mike Vrabel. Brian Callahan was an offensive mind. Vrabel was a defensive mind. But the biggest difference was Vrabel has this alpha, militaristic, leadership, type personality, whereas Brian Callahan, and this is no slight to Brian Callahan, because I don't know Brian Callahan personally. He's from what I've heard, and I've been at a ton of his press conferences, Brian Callahan is a very good person, and I wish him nothing but the best moving forward. But he was a yes man, and he did not have that alpha type personality that Mike Vrabel had. So when Mike Vrabel goes to New England, one of the things that, Robert Kraft and the ownership group and the front office, one of the things that they give him when he gets to New England is the roster control that he was asking for. And New England had one of the best, if not the best, offseason in the entire league last year. They went out and they got guys like, Milton Williams, who has been, I think, is going to be the X factor on Sunday. We've talked about that stat where when Milton Williams is on the field, when he's playing in the 12 games that he's played this year, opponents are rushing for a little over 80 yards per game. When he's off the field and he's not playing, in the games that he's missed, the opponents are rushing for over 140 yards per game. So that is a 60-yard difference when down to one player. So I believe Milton Williams is going to be the X factor on Sunday. And by the way, he's making his second straight Super Bowl appearance on two different teams. He was with the Eagles last year, now with the Patriots this year. Has a chance to win Super Bowls in back-to-back years on different teams. But I believe he's going to be the X factor. But that ties into the type of player that Mike Vrabel was able to get over the offseason. Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, who's been big in the secondary. You think of guys like, Stephon Diggs, who, yeah, you can say that he's out of his prime, but he's been Drake May's number one receiver. And the rookie class that he was able to bring in, Will Campbell, who I know has had his issues protecting, specifically in the postseason. But he is a rookie left tackle. That is going to happen. I'm sure he's going to get better. Travion Henderson, a running back who was up for Rookie of the Year. Those are the type of players that you're bringing in over the course of the offseason. So giving Mike Vrabel more roster control is a big reason to where they are right now. Going from 4-13 the last two seasons to now knocking down the door or trying to knock down the door of winning the Super Bowl. And by the way, Mike Vrabel would be I think it's one of two coaches to win a Super Bowl as a player and as a coach with the same organization. So that would be really cool stuff if Mike Vrabel was able to do that. And I'm not one of the Titans fans that's going to be mad at Mike Vrabel if he wins the Super Bowl. In fact, I'm going to be happy for him. If anything, it's more so a feeling of bitterness towards the Titans for letting him go. So that's a whole separate conversation in and of itself. But so those are some of the last thoughts that I had on the Super Bowl. We've covered, Kelly and I have covered about every nook and cranny over the course of the last 2 weeks because we've had plenty of time to talk about the Super Bowl, the final game of the football season. With that, we're going to go ahead and head to a break. We're going to open up the phones on the other side. How about that? Haven't talked to you guys a whole lot this week. Would love to interact a little bit more. Let me know your thoughts on the Super Bowl. Let me know about your thoughts about anything else that may be going on this weekend, college basketball, the Olympics. I know the opening ceremony was earlier this afternoon. Let me know. Phone number, 615-759-9949. Again, the phone number is 615-759-9949. Look forward to talking to you on the other side of the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com. Tickets at chicagohounds.com.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Good job with the bump music, Brando. I'm feeling this song right now. Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. We're opening up the phones at 615-759-9949. Not a single one of you have decided to call in. Are you kidding me? Not a single person. And the phones can be so hit and miss, because yesterday we had so many phone calls that we couldn't fit them all in. The day before we only had 2. It's so hit or miss, but I know there's somebody out there right now that is dying to call in and is just a little too nervous to do so. So just go ahead and do it. 615-759-9949. Let me know your thoughts on who should have won the MVP award. Do you agree that it was Stafford? Do you think it should have been Drake May? Super Bowl this weekend, let me know who you think is going to win, because I've been getting into it with, some guys earlier this week who think that the Patriots are going to win. I think the Patriots can keep it close, but I'm still rolling with Seattle. So in the meantime, since I have talked about every storyline I possibly could about the Super Bowl, I'm going to get into a little college basketball. So tonight we have UConn and St. John's in a Big East rivalry. We have Rick Pitino versus Dan Hurley. I think it's 2 of 3 active coaches in college basketball to win at least 2 national championships. UConn, the line actually went down on this game. It was at 2.5, went down to 1.5, and in favor of UConn. So this game being played at Madison Square Garden in New York. I'm very excited for this game. I think I agree with the line. I think UConn's going to win. They've been very dominant. Alex Caravan, one of the better players in college basketball, versus St. John's, who struggles to shoot the 3 a little bit. They're more so. They're a very good defensive team. You got to be under Rick Pitino. But I think that the fact that they do not shoot the 3 that well, I think that's going to give them some problems versus UConn. I'm not going to spoil anything, because I am going to put together a parlay that I'll show you at the very end of the show when I get into my bets of the day. But yeah, so UConn and St. John's, Big East battle. St. John's at 17-5 on the year, only 1 loss in Big East play. UConn has yet to lose in conference play. They've just been absolutely steamrolling. Their only loss of the year has come to the number 1 team in America, in Arizona, and that was way earlier on in the season. That was a 71-67 loss for UConn. But this is for the even with the win, St. John's wouldn't be number 1 in the Big East, because they're 10-1 in conference, and UConn is 12-0. So they would need at least 2 wins, including tonight, to be number 1 in the Big East. So UConn still has that death grip so far on the Big East. But it is an exciting weekend of basketball, and it's great because it all leads into the Super Bowl on Sunday. Tomorrow, a little bit of a lighter slate to start the day. Not as many eye-popping matchups as I mentioned at the very beginning of the show. We get some pretty good SEC game. Arkansas at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's not as good this year under Chris Jans as they have been in recent years, but it's at the Hump, and the Hump is a pretty tough place to play. But as we get later on into the day, after Oklahoma and Vanderbilt at 2:30, that's when you really start to get into the good college basketball matchups. And you have Oklahoma State and Arizona at 3:00. Oklahoma State is fighting to get in to the NCAA tournament. And I believe last I checked, according to Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology, Oklahoma State is on the outside looking in. They're right on the cusp of getting one of those, last 4 in, last 4 by spots. But I've watched a little bit of Oklahoma State this year. They were able to get wins over teams like Texas A&M. They got a win over UCF to start Big 12 conference play. They beat BYU on Wednesday in Stillwater. So they have, those resume type wins, 16-6 overall record. And now you get to play at Arizona 3:00 on ESPN. It's going to be a really tough challenge, as it speaks for itself, obviously, because Arizona's number 1 for a reason, one of 2 undefeated teams in all of college basketball. So that is a game at least to keep your eye on. Arizona is a 21.5 point favorite, which seems really, really big. Duke and North Carolina, one of the best rivalries, my personal favorite in all of college basketball. Duke, you can make the case that, Duke should be considered for being the best team in America. They are a projected 1 seed, go figure, in this year's NCAA tournament. They're number 1 in the ACC. It's been a pretty good year, though, for North Carolina as well under Hubert Davis. They're not in the top, the very top of the ACC standings. That's Duke, Clemson, Virginia, NC State, and then you get to North Carolina. North Carolina does have 3 losses in conference play, which really hurts them, but this would be a step in the right direction if they were able to beat their rival Duke in Chapel Hill, and that really helps that it is at Chapel Hill. 4.5-point favorite for Duke, but if you haven't had the chance, obviously there's going to be a lot of talk around Cam Boozer, one of the best freshmen in America. I'd say is probably the front runner, if I had to guess, for player of the year. But North Carolina has a pretty good freshman as well, in Caleb Wilson. The amount of freshman talent this year in college basketball is truly amazing. You have guys like Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson in this game. You have AJ DeBansta at BYU, Darren Peterson at Kansas, Kingston Flemings, Houston. I just named off 3 Big 12 players. The Big 12, one of the best conferences in America. So Nate Ament at Tennessee. There are freshmen all over the place that are playing so well. So if you haven't had the chance to watch Caleb Wilson at North Carolina this year, he's one of those must-watch freshmen for sure. Got our first call, and we will head to the phone lines now. Again, the phone lines are open. If you want to chime in on the conversation, 615-759-9949. Charlie on line 1. Charlie, what's going on?
Hey, Parker. First of all, really enjoying listening, man. Best wishes to George. I hope he's recovering well. And the reason I wanted to call him, I kind of wish George was on because I wanted to talk a little bit about Belmont. 20-3 coming into the night. Huge game against UIC. And a lot of the bracketologists that I'm seeing, it has Belmont as a 12 seed. And we've seen so many of these 12 seeds over the last few years really come into March and make a big impact. I got to ask you, what do you feel like the ceiling could be for this Bruins team? And I'll hang up and listen. Great job, man. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for the call, Charlie. Yeah, Belmont's really interesting because we talked to Lee Fowler about this yesterday. We were asking him about Belmont. They've scored 100 points in 2 straight games. They have a chokehold on the Missouri Valley Conference, and there is talk that if they don't win the conference, which I don't know how they wouldn't at this point, there is talk that even if they don't win, that they could still get one of those at-large spots in the NCAA tournament. That would be a long shot, just given the fact that they are one of the lower-tier mid-majors. But I do like the fact this Belmont team is really, really good. Really good. And the fact that they would be a 12 seed as a mid-major kind of speaks to that level. I do think that if they were able to get in, I know for a fact that you wouldn't want to see them on your side of the bracket because Belmont, the way that Coach Alexander is able to have those guys that he was able to recruit from high school, develop them, then you bring in the guys from the transfer portal and get them to all play complementary basketball. I believe they have 5 players averaging double digits, so there's plenty of scoring to go around. And for sure, if you're a team and you see Belmont on your side of the bracket, that's not a favorable matchup. Eric on line 2. Eric, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Parker? First of all, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thank you. You too, Eric. I'm really excited for this. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. But there's one question I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you'd heard this or whatever, and I didn't know, but I heard a report earlier today. I don't know if there's a specific interview out there, but there was a report that Max Crosby said that he would love to play for Mike Vrabel. I don't know if there was an interview that they did with him or just what the deal was. And, of course, he's been with the Raiders, and there's reports of Raiders, of course, that the Cowboys were trying to make a trade with them so they could get him. But the Raiders said, well, we're not trading him. And I don't know if Max Crosby is requesting a trade or anything like that. You could probably get a lot of value for him, but he might be willing to stick with him. Like, of course, Myles Garrett with Cleveland and the whole thing. Jefferson is here for the Titans. But I wondered if you had heard about that Crosby report that he was during the interview or something like that, where he said that he would love to play for Mike Vrabel.
I haven't heard that. I'm sure that it's out there somewhere. I just haven't come across it yet. I have seen the rumors, though, that he is going to request a trade or he's going to want out. My first thought is Chicago, the Bears, because I know that the Bears desperately need a pass rush, and they seem like one of those teams that's just that they're on the cusp. And if you get an elite player like Max Crosby, that could only help, get you past the hump. But yeah, I do know that Max Crosby is probably going to want out of Vegas.
Yeah. One last thing, and I'll let you go. I've got actually a Super Bowl trivia question for you. You may have heard about this. There have only been 2 quarterbacks in NFL history that's played a minimum of 2 Super Bowls and never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. One is Joe Montana. He played in 4 Super Bowls and never threw an interception. Do you know who the other quarterback is who's played in at least 2 Super Bowls and was never picked off?
Played in at least 2?
Yeah.
Oh. I have a feeling. I'm just going to guess. Wild guess. Is it Ben Roethlisberger?
No.
Not Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, I was not prepared for this. Give me a hint.
I'll say this: it's a quarterback you wouldn't expect. That's about the best hint I'll give you.
Quarterback I wouldn't expect. Okay. How about I know Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
Nope, not Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's right. That was against the Steelers. How about Kurt Warner? I'm probably going to be 0 for 3 here, Eric. You're going to have to help me out.
Nope. You give up?
Yep, I give up.
It was Jim Plunkett.
Yeah,
Raiders against the Philadelphia Eagles, and when we played against Washington, I think he only threw like a total like 3 or 4 touchdown passes. I don't remember the exact touchdown passes, but I remember both Super Bowls he played, he didn't turn the ball over. He wasn't intercepted.
Never knew that. Okay, Eric, let me ask you this. We've been talking about the show all week that we think the Seahawks are going to win, and that seems to be the majority feel on that one. Who do you have in this matchup tomorrow or on Sunday?
I think the Seahawks are going to win. I think it's going to be a fairly close game, and I know they're favored by like 4.5. I think it's pretty much stayed that way. It wouldn't surprise me if it was not by a field goal, but I will say this, guys. I know I've heard people say blowout. I don't see that. I'll be very surprised if either team wins in a blowout. I think if it's like double digits, it may be where somebody's maybe leaving a touchdown and they scored late to make it like 10 points, but who knows? You never know. It's just what. But a lot of times plays and things don't happen the way you expect them to. Some Seattle fans, of course, is just going to make up for the fact that Pete Carroll decided to throw on in the game where they should have ran Marshawn Lynch instead of throwing a pass was intercepted 2-yard line. Now, well, that's what happened. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to be a great game. I'll get off. You have a great weekend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. And hopefully, George.
Yes, I will pass that along. Thank you for the call, Eric. I did see, I know Bussin' with the Boys, Taylor Lewan and Will Compton put out a video earlier this week. They were at the Super Bowl media days, and they one of them went up to Mike McDonald and asked him, hey, it's 2nd and goal on the 1-yard line. You got 20 seconds left. Are you running or throwing the football? And Mike McDonald responded, well, do I have Marshawn Lynch in the backfield? Because that may affect my answer. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, the feel is that at least the majority of people I've talked to and radio shows that I've been on earlier this week, everyone kind of seems to be in harmony that they think the Seahawks are going to win, and I do too. But I would not be surprised to see the Seahawks win by a field goal or so. I think the Patriots defense is that good enough to keep it close. But what I'm worried about is the offense. And the offense has been concerning. 18 points per game through 3 games in the postseason, which is the lowest by any team to ever make the Super Bowl in NFL history. So it has been very concerning, but Drake May's legs going to be very pivotal in the game on Sunday, that's for sure. So with that, we'll head to our final break of the 4 o'clock hour. On the other side, we'll wrap with some final notes. We'll keep the phone lines open just in case, and then also I have my parlay for the weekend. Promise you're not going to want to miss it. You might make some money off of it. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, non-stop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com. Geodis Park on Sunday, April 19th, kicking off at 3 p.m. Hard hits, non-stop action. Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits the biggest stage in Nashville. Don't wait. Tickets will go fast. You can get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back in. Final segment on this Friday, Super Bowl Eve. And I have some parlays, but quick, some news and notes from around the world of sports. The LA Rams have brought on Cliff Kingsbury, the former offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. They're going to bring him on to their offensive staff. So I'm not sure if that means he's going to be the offensive coordinator. My guess would be no. because Nate Shieldhouse, who's their passing game coordinator, was getting head coaching interviews this cycle. He did not land a head coaching gig, so my guess is that he's going to get the internal promotion to offensive coordinator, and then Cliff Kingsbury work with quarterbacks or whatever. So the LA Rams have brought on Cliff Kingsbury to their offensive staff. Gunnar Rivers, a 4-star quarterback, son of Phillip Rivers, has committed to NC State, where his pops used to play. So that's pretty cool stuff. And also during the commercial break, I saw the video of Drew Brees getting the knock on his door to find out that he was going to be a Hall of Famer. And if that doesn't tug at your heartstrings, guys, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You must not have a heart if that's the case. I always love seeing those videos each and every year. Very happy for Drew Brees. I was a big Drew Brees fan. So I'm going to hit you with my parlays of the weekend. I've been thinking long and hard about this. So here it goes. First, let's recap what I was able to do this week. A perfect 4-0 with Kansas basketball on Monday night, Belmont on Tuesday, Texas A&M on Wednesday, and then yesterday predicting Stafford to win the MVP. Brings my overall record to 8-4. We'll see what I can do this weekend. So here it goes. My first bet. This is a 8-leg parlay. My first bet is I'm not betting the line at all on the Super Bowl. I'm just going to take the outright money line. And I'm going to go Seahawks money line versus the New England Patriots on Sunday in the Super Bowl. That is because, to be honest, this is kind of the easy way out. I don't know if the Seahawks are going to cover, because I could very well see the Patriots getting this thing to within 3. So I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to start off with Seahawks money line versus the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. My second is UConn, and this line has since moved since I texted our intern Ty about this graphic. So the original line was UConn -2.5 versus St. John's. That line has gone down. And I don't know if the people in Vegas know something about this game or not, because UConn has been on a lot on national television. I have watched a lot of UConn, haven't watched as much St. John's. I know that they were struggling in the early portion of the season, but they have since rebounded pretty nicely. I still think that UConn is going to cover. So I'm going to take UConn minus the 1.5 on the road at St. John's tonight. Again, that is the Fox Friday night tip-off, 7 p.m. Should be a fun one from Madison Square Garden. And then, I was talking about this game, Arizona and Oklahoma State. Arizona, the lone unbeaten power program in college basketball at a perfect 22-0. They have had this entire week to rest in order for this game. Oklahoma State is coming off of a big-time win over BYU in Stillwater on Wednesday night. Now they travel a little west to go to Arizona to try to end the Wildcats' unbeaten streak. That line is way too big for my liking. Way too big. Arizona is a 21.5-point favorite versus Oklahoma State. I do think Arizona is going to win this game. I think they will get to 23-0. However, I think Oklahoma State is a pretty good basketball team as well. And if the NCAA tournament started today, I would put Oklahoma State in. So, but we still have a lot left of the regular season, and then we'll get into, the conference tournaments and all that. So still time for Oklahoma State to prove themselves, but I'm taking Oklahoma State, the points, plus the 21.5 at Arizona on Saturday afternoon. That's a 3 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. Duke in North Carolina, that's a 4.5-point spread. I'm taking Duke outright versus North Carolina. I think Duke, they're one of the best teams in the nation. No way around it. Cameron Boozer, front runner for Player of the Year. I do think, because these games between Duke and North Carolina are typically always very competitive, I think it will be very competitive. But I think Duke is going to, in the end, I think they're going to pull it out on the back of Cameron Boozer. He's been so consistent all year, whether it's, scoring or getting the boards. I see that being the case on tomorrow evening. So those are my first 4 legs of the parlay. Here's the second set of 4. Illinois and Michigan State tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on, I believe it's Fox. It's either Fox or FS1. Illinois is somehow an underdog in this game after, climbing up the rankings, getting to number 5 in the country. Michigan State is coming off of an improbable, unexpected, whatever word you want to use, loss at Minnesota on Tuesday night. And now they welcome in Illinois. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Jeremy Fears. He's not injured. It's just that he had a technical foul against Minnesota in which he kicked another player. And Tom Izzo had some strong words after the game saying that he didn't even know if he was going to start Fears in the next game. We still don't know what's going to happen with that. But I don't understand how Illinois is an underdog in this game. After seeing what they were able to do in back-to-back weekends, first beating, at the time, a top 5 Nebraska team in Lincoln, and then before that, beating a Purdue team in Mackey, which, not a lot of teams are able to do, but they did it on the back of a true freshman in Keaton Wagler, who had 46. And that was it. That was just a tremendous weekend for the true freshman in general, but really for him. So what Illinois has been able to do, they've won 11 straight games in a row. They have high quality wins. So, and that schedule for Illinois, I still think that they have another matchup with Michigan maybe coming up. So, Illinois is a national championship contender. They're certainly a team to watch down the stretch. I'm taking them to win this game. I'm taking them plus the 1.5 on the road in East Lansing tomorrow night. Florida and Texas A&M. This is the game that I really wanted to talk about because I watched Texas A&M versus Alabama on Wednesday night, and it was fun. If you're an offensive person, that was the game for you. Lots of 3-pointers taken in the first half. Really, lots of 3-pointers just taken in general throughout that game. Buckyball is very fun to watch. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's high pace, pass, get the ball up the floor, quick shot. And most of the time this year, it has worked out for Texas A&M. But as we were talking about with Mark Griffin, I have some reserves. I have some doubts about that style of offense and how sustainable it will be going into, the thick of conference play and then into tournament season and then March Madness. These are the 2 teams that are at the top of the SEC right now. Texas A&M suffered their second conference loss at Coleman Coliseum on Wednesday. And if you remember, Florida just absolutely pounded the team that beat A&M on Wednesday night. Now, something that I've said a lot on this show is one result that happens one night in the SEC doesn't necessarily indicate what's going to happen the next night. And I still stand by that. But the way Florida's been playing, the way that their front court just is able to bully other teams in the paint, whether that's Ruben Chinulu or Thomas Houck or Micah Hand-Glockton, whoever, Alex Condon, I think Florida is going to have their way in College Station tomorrow night, 7:30 tip-off on the SEC Network. I'm taking Florida plus the 4.5. And then here's where we get into the good stuff too. Tennessee and Kentucky. Tennessee, heartbreaking loss earlier in the season to Kentucky in Knoxville. Had an 18-point lead in the first half, blew it. Kentucky ended up coming back and winning. Now, the stat that Mark pointed out to us, Kentucky, their 7 losses, 6 of those have come to a top 25 team. So it's not like they're going out and they're losing to nobody, but I will say this about Kentucky. It's in those losses, how they play, that just gives me concern. And Kentucky's been very hot and cold night to night. And we do know that in order to make a deep run in March, you have to beat good teams. So that is a question that I have about Kentucky. Tennessee, however, they're on a 4-game win streak. Nate Ament, has scored 19 or more points in 4 straight games. And this will be one of the toughest environments that he'll ever have to play in his college career, because we do know that he's going to be a one and done. Rupp Arena is a beast. So does Tennessee get its revenge? I think so. It is a very small spread. Kentucky minus 1.5, the over-under at 144.5. I'm taking Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee to win. I'm taking Tennessee plus the points. Don't know why. I don't like the fact that Tennessee will be on the road in Rupp. I'm just going with my gut right here. And then the final leg of the parlay, that's Houston and BYU. BYU has had their struggles. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. They've lost 3 in a row. Those losses, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Arizona, and then they lost to Texas Tech 3 weekends ago. So it's been tough sledding for BYU, and that should be concerning. The good news is they have 3 really good scorers. 3 really good scorers who are averaging double figures, and that's AJ DeBansta, the star true freshman, Richie Saunders, who can absolutely light it up from behind the arc, and Rob Wright, the transfer from Baylor, who has also had his fair share of scoring. So now you welcome in a really good Houston team who is known for their defense, known for their physical style of play under Kelvin Sampson, but they also have some scorers. Kingston Flemings, another one of these freshmen. Emmanuel Sharp, who can fill the bucket from behind the arc. So it's not like Houston can't match the scoring. I mean, after all, Houston did put up 86 on Texas Tech a couple of weekends ago. Now they did lose that game, but they put up 86 in the process, so they can fill it up as well. I think I'm taking Houston. Houston is a 1.5 point favorite. Given BYU's struggles in recent games, I'm taking Houston out. I'm taking Houston to win. So just a quick recap of this parlay. I'm taking Seahawks money line versus the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm taking UConn minus 2.5 versus St. John's tonight. Oklahoma State plus the 21.5 versus Arizona. Duke money line in their rivalry matchup versus North Carolina. Illinois plus the 1.5 versus Michigan State. That game tomorrow night. Florida minus 4.5 versus Texas A&M. Tennessee minus 1.5 versus Kentucky. And Houston minus 1.5 versus BYU. We'll see those results on Sunday. Next week, I don't know how many of you guys were listening to when George came on. Next week, we don't expect to have George on the show as he's continuing to rest his vocal cords. I know for those of you that were able to listen when he was on a couple of weeks ago, he was having some vocal cord issues. He went to the doctor. The good news is there is not significant damage to the vocal cords. The doctors just recommended that he rest, so that's what he's been doing. So don't expect him to be on the show, but he should be with us the week after, God willing. Kelly Holcomb will be back on Monday. We will recap the Super Bowl and everything that went on with that. Should be very exciting. We'll also have Taylor Barnett on, former Belmont men's basketball player, to recap everything that happened in the world of college basketball. It is a loaded sports weekend. The Olympics officially started today. College basketball, Super Bowl. There's no shortage of things to talk about. And fortunately, we were able to squeeze most of it in during this 2-hour window. So thank you for those that called in, those of you that have interacted. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at the George Plaster Show. We would really appreciate that. Enjoy the football this weekend. Enjoy the time with friends and family. Enjoy the good food. I know I will enjoy all the delicacies that my wife and I were hosting a Super Bowl party. I'm just going to set the over-under at 10.5 chicken minis for me Sunday night during the Super Bowl. I'll get back to you on Monday and let you know how it went. But really appreciate all of you. Enjoy the football. Enjoy the sports this weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday on the George Plaster Show.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. Our temperatures soar and